Greetings, most cherished viewers of Radio Evangelium Kumbo Online TV, and you are welcome to this all-important workshop in the city of Yaounde, organized by the Justice and Peace Commission of the Diocese of Kumbo. It is one of the tasks of the Justice and Peace Commission, Diocese of Kumbo, to fight against trafficking in persons in all its forms. We have this report of their united effort with judges, lawyers, journalists, civil society organizations, and other partners to end trafficking in persons at the St. John the 23rd Center, Vole, Yaounde, on Tuesday the 11th. On Sunday the 9th of March 2025, the members of the Justice and Peace Commission, Diocese of Kumbo, as well as other participants out of Yaounde, set out in order to meet up with the required date for arrival. Monday the 10th was the day of arrivals and registration of all participants. And it was on Tuesday the 11th at the St. John the 23rd Center, Vole, Yaounde, that the Justice and Peace Commission, Diocese of Kumbo, brought together judges, lawyers, journalists, civil society organizations, and strategic partners from all over the nations to discuss a critical issue affecting our communities, nations, and the world at large, that is, trafficking in persons. This workshop was organized under the theme engaging judges, lawyers, journalists, civil society organizations, and strategic partners for effective synergy of action in the fight against trafficking in persons in Cameroon. At the heart of the workshop was the examination of the 2011 law on human trafficking in Cameroon, its weaknesses and strengths, especially in the dimension of victim protection, before, during, and after the process, and the possibility of forming a better synergy between the various stakeholders in the fight against human trafficking. This workshop, which took the whole day, was marked by presentations from various parties involved. The words of welcome from the coordinator for Justice and Peace, Kumbo, kick-started the day.
The Advocate General of Northwest Region, Mr. TN Magistrates, representative of the U.S. Embassy, Political Department, dear barristers, fellow civil society organizations, great is our joy, honor we have to see you in our midst. We have been longing for this meeting in the context of the trafficking in persons.
Mr. Nyinka Marcel and Mr. Lukong Isdo set the tone for all subsequent discussions by describing the Kumbo Justice and Peace Commission's efforts in the fight against trafficking in persons in Cameroon.
Actually, it has been a long way, and we have challenges along the way. We also have support along the way, and we are glad that today we'll be sharing this, what we've been able to do so far with our strategic partners, and also the challenges we are facing in the field. We shall have a discussion now. Justice and Peace Commission of the Diocese of Kumbo is a faith-based human rights organization that was founded in 1996 by the dead Bishop Dr. Our vision is to stimulate mental behavioral transformation and to fight against all forms of human rights violations in order to build a just and peaceful society through participatory methods. We have here the staff of the commission. We have Reverend Sister Mekwe Zefani, who is the coordinator, and then we have the rest of the team members. And it's a form of slavery. And in Cameroon, we are glad that in 2015 or 2005 was when the U.S. Embassy in Cameroon brought to the knowledge the existence of this human trafficking in our country. And thereafter, there are two dimensions of this trafficking in Cameroon, but because of its insidious character, accurate statistics are lacking. Generally, people are displaced, women and children are displaced within and without our country. And the Kumbo Diocese happens to be one of the most hard-hit areas, maybe due to the vulnerability, lack of employment opportunities, lack of economic.
Highlighting their success with cases from Kuwait, their collaboration with Talita Kum to help other victims from Ghana, and bringing out their effort in victim protection and survival with the St. Bakita Relief Center, Kumbo, which is under construction. After the beautiful introduction by the Justice and Peace of Kumbo, the representative for the U.S. Embassy from the Political Affairs section took the floor to give an understanding of trafficking in persons and the three elements required for an act to be called trafficking, which are the act, the means, and the purpose put in place.
Protocol, and then we will go into some examples of trafficking in person. And these are very high-level, basic examples, but it's meant to sort of illustrate the different elements of trafficking in persons. Then part 4 of the presentation will be recommendations. I'll talk a little bit about our 2024 trafficking in persons report and some of the recommendations we made. And then I'll open it up for questions. So I'll start with the key international legal instruments. So the Palermo Protocol is a supplement to the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. It was adopted in 2000, and it focuses on the prevention of trafficking in persons. So we have the 1930 Forced Labor Convention, Article 2.1, which defines the term forced or compulsory labor to mean all work of service which is exacted from any person under the menace of any penalty and for which the said person has not offered himself voluntarily. Recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, receipt of persons. So this is the trafficking part of the law. There needs to be some means, these are coercive means that are involved against the victim. So it's the threat, use of force, coercion, abduction, fraud, deception. And then the last one, which is a little bit more complicated, I'll come back to. And then finally the purpose, which is exploitation. So you need all three elements to meet the definition of human trafficking. So this is really important, and it's something that children might get sent to live with relatives because they are coming from difficult circumstances, and there's promise for better opportunity in the city or in another village with their relatives. Where this turns into trafficking is that, again, deception. So the child, instead of attending school and having a better life, they're forced to work, they're not going to school, and they're subject to physical abuse.
The presentation on government policy and national legal framework in the fight against human trafficking in Cameroon was given by the Sub-Director of International Cooperation at the Ministry of Justice.
Trafficking in persons is a subject I'm passionate about. And before I start my presentation, I would like to say the government of Cameroon is always accused of doing a lot as far as trafficking in persons is concerned, but not disseminating what it is doing. So I hope within these 40 minutes I'll be able to actually tell you what the government in Cameroon is doing as far as trafficking in persons is concerned. In fact, before I came here right now, I just received a judgment from Boya on trafficking in persons. Okay, which means that the magistrates are also working. So let's go ahead. What is the objective of my presentation? The first objective is to enable you to identify national policy and legal framework on trafficking in persons. Secondly, to identify the constitutive elements of trafficking in persons, because most often trafficking in persons is confused with other offenses, especially smuggling in persons. So this presentation will enable you to actually identify those constitutive elements of trafficking in persons. And we are going to look at some of the strengths and weaknesses of the current trafficking in persons legislation. So those are the objectives of the session. Then as far as the plan of the session is concerned, next slide. Our plan will consist of an introduction. Next slide. After the introduction, we are going to look at the strategic axis of government policy in persons in Cameroon. Then we shall move to look at national laws, and we shall mainly talk about the 2011 Trafficking in Persons Law, and then the Penal Code. And lastly, we shall look at the strengths and shortcomings of the legal framework on trafficking in persons. People are able to know the indicators of trafficking in persons, which will enable people to be able to prevent trafficking in persons. If I take an example, sometimes awareness raising may be geared towards population at risk. You see, we are talking about identification there, because you will need to identify the population at risk, monitor what is happening in their community, and be able to inform them properly about what trafficking in persons is and how they can identify trafficking in persons and how they can prevent being trafficked and how they can help others prevent being trafficked. So there are a lot of ministries which are involved, be it for prevention, for provision of care, for repression, and some government departments do more than one. Some do prevention and care, some do repression. And we cannot just say this ministry is only for this ministry is only for this. If I take an example of the Ministry of Justice, you know that the Ministry of Justice is only repression, not so. But it's interesting to share with you that in 2021 and 2022, we carried out a project with the UN Women on gender-based violence. And magistrates actually went out to the field to sensitize people on gender-based violence. Let's start with the first Minister of
A beautiful presentation on government policy on the fight against human trafficking was followed by a presentation on trafficking in persons case law analysis by the Director of Human Rights and International Cooperation at the Ministry of Justice. She gave a beautiful analysis on some case in the fight against human trafficking with concrete facts from existential cases and pointing out the existence of ignorance within the justice system about the 2011 law on human trafficking.
The presentation is on the case law, and then why are we discussing the case law? Because this morning we've gone out various principles, and now actually we need to see how those principles translate into action. I'm doing this presentation based on the book I published last year, the book on trafficking in person. This is the book. It is human trafficking and smuggling in Cameroonian courts. So it is a compendium of court cases, aim being that each and every one of you see how the courts are managing the various cases, the difficulties which Madam Taba talked about this morning. How do the court navigate with the issues, the complexity of the definition? How do the court navigate with the issue of penalization? How the court also navigate with the issue of cooperation? We see all that throughout the various court cases.
Like I said in the morning, these laws can be there, but these men and women of integrity we're going to put to make the laws to be active, and that's exactly what he did. So there's no way in Kumbo Diocese, Justice and Peace Kumbo, where we can talk about human trafficking without thinking of the Advocate General.
The Advocate General for Northwest and Metro Tion, from their experience, spoke on the challenges faced by lawyers and judges in handling trafficking in persons cases. Citing from example on various cases on human trafficking handled by him, he highlighted difficulties in the area, ranging from investigating challenges, resource constraint, limited access to justice due to geographical and financial barriers, and lack of victim support.
When I was working with people in Kumbo, yes, little did I know that I was doing something commendable until when I was transferred. The bishop of the Kumbo Diocese invited me back to Kumbo for a special reception. I was surprised that which kind of recognition is this? Human trafficking is a crime that involves illegal transportation of individuals for the purpose of exploitation. It is a form of modern-day slavery that constitutes gross violation of human rights. Traffickers often operate underground, using sophisticated networks to exploit their victims. There are diverse challenges experienced by frontline agents prosecutors and adjudicators in the handling of trafficking offenses. They sometimes lack adequate knowledge, capacities, and resources, tools to effectively respond to these cases. Given these challenges, it is important for the entire criminal justice system to have an in-depth understanding of human trafficking, for them to effectively deal with this scourge. The challenges faced by the criminal justice system can be categorized into legal, procedural, institutional, sociocultural, resource constraints, jurisdictional issues, and challenges specific to victims. All these hinder the ability of lawyers and judges to effectively handle trafficking cases. And 0 to 14 December, which amended the 2005 law, and this 2011 law has been reenacted in the penal code. We have some offenses. We have seen earlier head bondage, trafficking and slavery, immoral.
The various parties separated into 3 groups: civil society organizations and journalists, magistrates and lawyers, to discuss key strategies for effective synergy in the fight against human trafficking, on the 2011 law on trafficking in persons, and the possibility of amendment of the law in line with victim protection before, during and after the process, and the various recommendations. This was coordinated by Maitre Thion Christophe. Some participants spoke to us on the necessity of this workshop.
The crisis has actually exacerbated the situation of human trafficking in the northwest and southwest regions, in the sense that so many people have been displaced in the first place. Many homes have been destroyed, and the family, which is a basic unit, has been shattered. That's why you got the statistics from the UNICEF talking about 800,000 out of school. That's the immediate effect of the crisis. And the economic situation has also worsened, therefore increasing poverty. And we know that poverty increases vulnerability. So many people have been exposed, many families have been exposed, many children have been exposed, and these people now are falling prey to traffickers. That's why we did a survey sometime in Yaounde, Douala, Bamenda, and Bafoussam, and discovered that there are so many girls from the northwest and south, especially from Bui and Tonga, in exploitation centers. Some are sex workers in bars, nightclubs, and the rest. So the situation of this crisis has actually worsened the situation of human trafficking, unlike before. In 2015, when we had this Kuwait saga, we had more than 120 victims that we registered. But presently we can be talking of thousands.
The goal of the conference here, organized by Peace and Justice Kumbo, was to raise the issue of trafficking in persons and better understand the law behind it. It's very important to take a holistic approach to trafficking in humans. So this conference brought together lawyers, journalists, and the diplomatic community to discuss what human trafficking is and what can be done on an international scale to address it. Well, every year the U.S. Embassy publishes a trafficking in persons report for almost every country in the world. And it's because we recognize this as a global problem, including in our own country and countries all over the world. So we hope to help Cameroon by raising the profile of the issues, gathering data and information on what is occurring in the country, and then offering recommendations on how to improve the situation.
Well, presently it would be difficult for me to state how the situation is in the Northwest, because there are very many internally displaced persons. So those persons have come from their natural habitats to seek for a more safe and convenient environment. So when they are being exploited, when they are suffering from some of those characteristics of human trafficking, it is difficult for the judicial authorities to know if there are no complaints made. The Justice and Peace organizations used to help us to point out such abuses, and it is maybe incumbent on them right now to investigate such abuses and point them out to us, since the victims are not complaining. So far as corruption is concerned, it is difficult to pinpoint any particular case of corruption that has hindered the investigation and prosecution into cases of human trafficking. If you look at the 2011 law on trafficking in persons, especially in Section 3, you would find very heavy penalties reserved for perpetrators of the offense of human trafficking, ranging from 10 to 25 years. So it is a serious serious offense.
I think the trend is complex because the issue also is complex. Complex with regard of the nature whereby the issues is noted in our various jurisdictions. You have jurisdiction where you have the phenomenon of child trafficking. The other, you have the child smuggling. In others, we have exploitation, domestic slavery. In others, we have exploitation in agriculture. So I think the question is the issue is quite complex. And what is the government doing? I think apart from having set the global policy on the issue, there is also laws that are being in place, and now there are courts which have to apply the legislation, and in that implementation of the legislation there can be some issues, but we are trying to tackle the various issues with activities like this to help judges, to help civil society organizations, to help lawyers have a common understanding of what is the phenomenon and what are the stakes for Cameroon, and knowing that it's a common endeavor to fight against trafficking. We cannot say it is a phenomenon which pertains to various which can be explained by various reasons. You have reasons pertaining to the court itself. You have reason pertaining to the parties. You have reason pertaining, yes, to the complexity of the issue.
I'm the coordinator at the National Service for Justice and Peace at the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon. We work in close collaboration, especially through networking. We have the National Network for Justice and Peace in Cameroon. Concerning collaboration with the Justice and Peace Service of Kumbo, we've been collaborating in so many spheres, either in networks where we all belong as civil society organizations. The network which is particular to us, that's the Justice and Peace Service of Cameroon, we receive reports. We also collaborate by calling for tender or at assisting and participating in activities organized by the various commissions like this one. We have to support them. The strategy we are trying to put now, which is very important, is to do networking by thematics. And Kumbo is the leading commission and coordination in human trafficking in persons, or human trafficking, as commonly known.
Et au sortir de cet atelier, je retiens davantage ce que l'on peut mettre dans le trafic des personnes. C'est donc le fait de soumettre une personne à des tâches forcées, ou parfois ça peut même ne pas être forcé, mais lui promettre des choses qu'on ne va pas réaliser par la suite. Parfois la personne ne sait même pas qu'elle est en train de se livrer au trafic. Elle se dit elle est en train de travailler, alors que derrière il y a les parents qui perçoivent la grosse partie du salaire, et là-dedans il y a un problème d'intention qui compte pour la condamnation. Retenez déjà que la loi camerounaise, notamment il y a une loi de 2011 sur le phénomène du trafic des personnes. ce qui n'était pas le cas par le passé. Donc il a fallu, c'est grâce aux travaux, aux revendications de la société civile que l'Assemblée nationale a siégé pour voter cette loi. Mais je peux dire qu'il y a un problème de sensibilisation qui se pose parce que aussi bien les parents qui envoient leurs enfants travailler pour percevoir l'argent que les parents qui reçoivent ces enfants peuvent être dans l'ignorance. Mais retenons que le trafic est constitué d'un réseau tellement outillé que si l'État et la société civile ne se lèvent pas, on n'y parvient.
Trafficking in persons is a reality at our local, national and international level. It takes various forms, ranging from forced labor, sex trafficking, domestic servitude, forced marriage, organ removal, child soldiering, and trafficking for various purposes. Let us unite in the fight against this societal problem.